things that I think we wanted to talk about, and we saved it for last because we're all just almost so tired of the pandemic, right? Everybody's waiting for 2020 to be over, to get past this pandemic, but I don't think we're really going to be past the pandemic. We're just going to be past 2020. But the pandemic. So we do want to talk a little bit about how the pandemic has affected us in not only in sales, but in property management. And so I'll start off, and then the girls will also share some of their stories. But I remember I was camping in St. Augustine on spring break, so that's March, when all of this just first started coming about. And we didn't know what was going to happen. You know, were tenants going to be able to pay rent? You know, were people going to be able to go to work? And so when May started rolling around, that was the first time that we kind of were like, I wonder if our tenants are going to pay rent.
Were they going to pay rent? I think from the leasing agent side, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're fixing to be in the busiest season. How am I going to get tenants out of a property and new tenants in a property? And I think that was probably the first time that I really saw we had been, or you, I've been with you for 2 years, I think February, or your February and March, that 2-year mark is coming up. So I think I reflected back and really saw how, I don't think knowingly, you had already laid the groundwork, and we were prepared going into this where some others may not have been that fortunate. We had videos online, we had photos, so it was so easy when someone said, hey, I want to move into this house, how do I see it? I've got that virtual video on there, there's photos. I always still recommended that if you could get in the area, do a drive-by the neighborhood, because that's one thing that, I mean, I don't think video can ever really capture that part of it, but I think everybody was looking for a little something to do, and I learned quickly that we were moving properties, probably faster than we ever had. Then I think Tiana saw when the May, June rent rolled around, tenants were paying. You know, we had a small percentage that, I don't know that there were any I can't pays. It was more, can you give me some extra time?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest part of it was communication. That was the most important throughout this. Of course, we were worried about delinquent rent.
Right.
I think we did a really great job as far as communicating before the first of the month to try to figure out how everyone was coping with this, if there were going to be any issues with paying rent. As Ashley mentioned, we had a few people who maybe needed a little bit of an extension, but I would say overall we had less than 1% of tenants paying rent late. And even from, I did during this quarantine period, I was taking a lot of Zoom classes during that time. I mean, what else to do than take more property management Zoom classes? And that was one thing where I did see some other companies really struggled with switching over from being in person in the office collecting rent to an solely online platform. That was one thing where some property management companies were spending a lot of time trying to figure that part out, whereas I feel like we already had that part nailed down. We could spend more time on actual preventative issues, like foreshadowing that, okay, well, if this lasts longer than what we expected, which it did, we can at least try to figure out, again, making sure that we are communicating with tenants as far as not just paying rent, but also work orders, inspections, anything that requires entering a home can be a really tricky process when you have, to enter someone's personal home during this time. So making sure that vendors were fully up to date on PPE gear, making sure that we were really only entering there was a certain amount of time that we only entered for real crucial reasons, like actual emergency work orders. Until tenants started feeling more comfortable. That included inspections. We actually had some residents sending us video walkthroughs or photos during that time.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I think, staying on top of it in that aspect and not having to worry about how are we going to work remotely. We were already
working
set up for
It
that.
just allowed us to focus on the issue at hand and how we're going to solve it.
We're 2 steps
versus
ahead.
how do I set up an at-home office and how do we get our calls and how are we going to collect our rent, because we were already so automated in all of those processes.
Yeah, so when I started the company, I did start it as a remote office, and that allowed me to bring in all the technology that supported it. So we had the internet phone service and the cloud filing systems, and our Folio software program fully supported the tenants paying rent on time, online, applying to rent the property online. We already had videos, marketing videos of all of our properties. So for us, I felt a little bad because I know that there are a lot of companies that really struggled, a lot of property management companies struggling with, how are we gonna get these properties rented? We don't have all these videos, and now we got tenants in place. How are we gonna go get good marketing pictures and videos? So we definitely were able to handle that. And now we're seeing, of course, as all of you guys are seeing, businesses are moving to a lot more remote working, allowing people, well, we're all still in the pandemic, but I think as the pandemic subsides, you're going to see that a lot of people are still going to be, of course it's forecasted, people are going to continue to do remote working. And so one of the things that we're seeing because of that is, a little bit different trend in housing. People are looking for outdoor space, good outdoor space. They're also looking to be able to have consolidated families, like the, mom, grandmom, and the kids are all kind of living in the same house. We saw a little bit of that trend started a couple of years ago already, and now because of the pandemic, I think we're seeing a little bit more of that. But I believe, the ability for people to work online and now school online, what that is doing is it's making people see that they're not stuck having to stay in this town and work in this town necessarily. I could go take a vacation in Mexico for 2 weeks and nobody would know I was gone, and I do that, and she does that, we're still working from wherever we're at, and because of that, we're gonna see an uptick in that short-term vacation rental. Those things are growing, and so that's where we're going to have some new services coming in 2021. I've bought, my partner and I, Jeff, have bought a vacation rental home that we're renovating, and it's over on the river by us. And so we're going to be doing a short-term vacation rental home with this home, and we'll perfect all of our policies and all of our in-house systems. Just using my little guinea pig as the first example, and then we're going to roll that out to.
I love that you're always willing to be our guinea pig. Like, who better to try it on yourself first? Like, we're not going to put our customers through that. We're going to try it right on you.
And it's funny, every time I tell people, like, yeah, I'm going to do a little short-term vacation rental, I do this because I'm like, short-term rentals, people in and out all the time, and you're gonna do it close to your home. Why are you doing that? But the key there is to hire a good maid service that also can do the inspecting, and I already have one of those in place, and she happens to live right down the road from me. So we're gonna get that show going and have that service offered in 2021, because I do think that a lot of people are gonna be looking for that.
I agree.
Winters on the slopes, summers on the beach.
And especially with right now some limitations on international travel, you'll see a lot of people within the country just taking little road trips and staying in different areas. So I think that will be a big part, at least for 2021. I think that's going to be a big part of traveling. Will probably be more domestic travel versus international travel.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Although I can't wait to get back out there and do some international travel.
Me too.
Homebody.
Yeah. Well, those are just some of the things that we wanted to share, just a little bit of year in review, and we really appreciate all the support in the business that you guys give us. And if you have any questions or anything else that you wanted to reach out to us about, feel free to. We'll put all the information in the little chat box below, and then of course you can read through the article, and this will be going out in our newsletter, so you'll be able to flip through and see a little bit more in-depth discussion on those things. So,
and working remotely allows us to keep to our customers' hours, because if you text at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're probably going to get me. If you text at midnight, you might get a reply from Tanya at 2 a.m. So like we're well rounded at that. Like, truly offering hours to anybody.
Shh, no we don't. Anyway, thank you guys, and thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
You
See
guys,
you in the new year.
That's right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.